Hello everybody, what is up? My name is John Soloed. I am Twitch's #1 hand model, and for today we're going to be talking about keybinds and movement in general, and just how you can increase your gameplay by yourself by just becoming more efficient, by getting muscle memory, by using the same universal keybinds across not only World of Warcraft, but you can use this on other games in general, and just using these key concepts that we're about to teach, you can become a true pro and unlock your potential and play the game how it's really meant to be played. So if you like what you see here, you can come over onto Twitch and follow me there. We do lots of silly PvP stuff where we attack, we gank people, we fight people in cities, we river dance all across World of Warcraft. So if you like what you see, if this teaches you anything, please come over and follow me there. And without further ado, let's get into the guide. So basically, we want to start out with our movement, and picking a movement is basically the most important thing, because there are a few different ways that you can move, but they all basically require you to use a combination of your mouse and your keys. So what you really want to do is you really want to pick two strafe buttons, and then you can decide later whether or not you want to use your move forward button or not. But what I can tell you, you definitely don't want to do is you definitely do not want to use a backwards button. If you've ever seen me play, you've never seen me move backwards, because there's a very easy way to be moving in this game, and it is with your strafe buttons. If I wanted to move backwards towards the tree, I can just turn and strafe backwards. So let me just show you really quickly. If you come in here to your keybinds, you go to options, come down to keybinds, and then there's this right here, this character specific keybinds. You want to make sure that this button is always unchecked. And what the reasoning behind this is that you're wanting to make your keybinds universal across all your characters. So right when you log on your character, you can play it in the same sort of general manner as you just were playing your last. So it is very important to make sure that this part right here is unchecked. And when you are playing from character to character and you're like, hey, this move really seems like it should be an F, not an E, and my F really feels like it should be an E, well, it's easy enough to just do this. All right, so just make sure that when you find a default profile, that you're keeping it, you're building your muscle memories, and that we're going back into the movement now because we got a little bit off track. And so when you come in here to keybinds, you have all of this stuff. It's a very good idea to go through here and unbind all of this useless stuff. And in your keybinds, especially like action bar, it's a good idea to unbind these because they can interfere with other, stuff to come later in the video. So we just uncheck all of this stuff. And then from here, we go into, and it's as easy as that to change your keybinds. So we just changed this to S. So now we have a back pedal, and so you can see how slow that is. It takes me forever to get to this tree from right here. Like, look at how slow this is. So you really just want to be utilizing the strafe to basically be keeping your movement speed the entire time. And it's really easy to do. All you do is when you're controlling your camera, you are using your right mouse button to reorient your character to the direction and turning your character with this mouse button, your right mouse button. Left mouse button is the camera. And so this gets into another good point. We're going to go in here really fast and rebind this. But before we leave there, we really want to change another option. So we're going to have to go back into there. So the other option that we want to do is we want to go ahead and bite the bullet. We want to come to controls. We want to go down to camera, and we want to turn this off entirely. We want to put it to never. And so what that does is it lets you become your own professional cameraman. You take control. A lot of times when you can take the control out of things in the game, it just becomes better. It allows you to take control over it, which is better. So like if you're running on an edge and you're like la da 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 da, and your camera's constantly snapping, you could be like, trying to observe an area, fight over there, and you see a hunter behind you, and he's launching a frost trap at you. Well, that camera snap might disorient you. You might get lost or whatever. Not lost, but that quick disorient could result in you getting trapped. So it's good just to become your own cameraman of your life and frame everything exactly how you want it. It's going to take a little while to get used to moving your character like this. But overall, when you find out how you want to move your character, and again, you don't have to pick this. Almost everything I say in this guide is going to be subjective. So if you want to move down here, you can use these to move. If you want to move up here, you can use these to move. I like having a forward button, but again, some pros did not. The late Recful, he used to strafe with his A and Z, and those were the only two buttons that he had bound. So, like, whatever works for you, and it might not work for me, and it might not work for another person. But what you want to do is you want to get these movements down and figure out how to move everything. And once you figure out your movement and you're getting all good with your movement, you're going to start figuring out where you want your damaging moves to go in. And so that's the next step, is to figuring out where you want to add in these damaging moves. And so I played League of Legends. I mirrored League of Legends. So I have Q, W, E, and R as my main damaging moves. I like these buttons a lot. So luckily the game has something in it that are modifiers that allow me to bind Q in multiple different ways. And these modifiers are Shift, they're Control, and they're Alt. And so when you have these modifiers, you can now use Q, and then I can use Shift Q as a separate move. I have W, Shift W as a separate move. I could have Control W as a separate move. I don't, so it just uses my regular W. And you could use Alt W if you want, if that feels better for you. Again, it's very subjective. So when you find out what you want your damaging moves and your alternative damaging moves to be, another good thing to do is to think about where you want to put things like utility, movement, and offensive cooldowns. So let's just like log over really quickly onto the Druid and just show that, these are universal. I played the Druid like I played the Rogue. If I'm coming in here on the Druid, I'm going T to turn into Moonken, Q, Shift E, R, E, W. That's my rotation. I'm in my PvE stuff, so I just use my PvP trinket, but that normally doesn't happen. And then I have my main damaging move as Shift R, and so like it's Shift R so that if I accidentally pop that while I'm doing my main rotation, it's not the end of the world. I'm just doing more damage, but it's not somewhere weird that it's hard to hit, like binding it to like O or like P. Like I don't use these moves that require me to reach in an awkward scenario that I can't, hit every single time. Like, I like my PvP trinket being like the F buttons, because like no matter what F button I hit at the time, it's going to use my PvP trinket. It doesn't because, I don't have it up right now, but the point is that it's very nice to have that and then move down and, pop your defensive cooldowns on the way down. And, one's very easy for me to hit. But, like, if my bark skin was Shift R, I might be in trouble popping this as a defensive cooldown when Shift R. And these are true oh shit buttons as well. Like if I'm holding Shift and hitting one, it doesn't do anything but one. If I'm hitting Control, and this is why you unbind all that other stuff, by the way, because like I think Shift 1 and Control 1 will end up doing something if you don't unbind everything. So these are like true oh shit buttons, and so it's a good idea to, when you are binding these buttons, to go into options, keybinds, and then we are on action bar 2. And so it's a good idea to, like, if I want one to never have anything like that, I go ahead and bind 1, and then I go ahead and bind Shift 1, and then I go ahead and bind Control 1, and then I go ahead and bind Alt 1, and then I rebind it to 1. And then now it just cleared out all of those keybinds out of the system. So now if I just press 1, it's always going to hit my bark skin. So, like, it's an actual, like, I'm in trouble. And so you should think about that your damaging moves should be your number one first able to hit moves. They should be the most comfortable to hit. And then your defensive moves should be separate but easy to hit. You see me doubling up on some of these, and it's mainly because, like, in certain scenarios, like, I don't have very many defensive cooldowns, so 4 is just easier to hit sometimes than 5, and then vice versa. Sometimes 5 is easier to hit than 4, just depending on how my hand is lying on the keyboard. So, and then also, if I fat finger and I hit both of them, it's not the end of the world. So that's like one of the things that you want to keep in mind when you're, doing your keybinds. But then you want to make sure that you're binding your utility and that you're binding, your movements, and that when you're doing this, you're thinking about that when you get onto another character, you are going ahead and using that same thing. So, like, even if I was to come in here and make a brand new character, like keybinds, and I come in here to this new character, and I am a new shaman. I haven't done anything other than make my general keybinds on my main. And since I have that thing unchecked, it comes over having the exact same keybinds. So I just move my F over my heal to my F, like how I have on my druid, and then my E main damaging move. And keybinds is set up. He doesn't have very many moves yet, but he's already kind of playing like how my other characters play. So it doesn't matter, what class you're playing, what characters you're playing. You can, once you make your default standard keybinds profile, you are just moving your buttons around to match where you want them on your current character. And so again, like, I log on to my rogue, which is my main, but you see all my defensive cooldowns, I need to pop evasion, it's up there. If I'm, in my main damaging moves, so like I am in stealth now, but like my Q is my opener or my E, depending on what class I'm opening on, but they're both easy to hit. But then, so like, I'm thinking already ahead of time about that, like my Q, E, R, Q, E, Shift, E, R. So like, that's the same. My defensive cooldowns are the same. My sprint is my M button. My other, movement speed is V. My utility is F and G. And that's how it is on all my characters. If I have an alt heal, my F is normally the heal. And then G is normally the CC. But as you can see, I can, just have the one default profile and be able to jump from character to character and still be building up the same muscle memory. So after, maybe a few days of this, you're going to feel like so much better. And then after like a few weeks of this, you're going to feel like even better. And so the general concepts that you want to follow here are: find out your movements, go back to the very beginning movement part, because that is the very most important part of this video. If you have any questions about how to do the movements, you can always just leave a comment down below. I'm always live on Twitch. If you found anything helpful here, you can come follow me on Twitch. Don't like and subscribe here. Come follow me on Twitch and like and subscribe. It's right up there at the top. It's been there the whole video. Later.